Hi, my name's Chris Gorse. I'm here with John Sturgis. We've been talking in the office really about this Icelandic volcano that's erupted and some of the issues that we should be considering for sustainability and the impact on the planet of this eruption. What are your thoughts on this, John?
Yes, Iceland is a very interesting country for many reasons. It was first colonised in about 850 to 1000 AD by the Vikings, and it's been inhabited ever since. What the Vikings didn't realise when they got there was that basically it wasn't as fertile a country as the ones that they'd left in Scandinavia. Because they saw a lot of trees and a lot of grass, they thought it was much more lush than it in fact was, with the result that they cut down many of the forests before they realised that these wouldn't regenerate at anything like the speed they were familiar with in Scandinavia. So in a sense, Iceland represents a community living on the edge of what is sustainable. Now, besides colonising Iceland, they also colonised Greenland, and they had a colony there for 450 years. Unfortunately, that one turned out to be not sustainable because the medieval warm period, which lasted from about 1000 AD to 1400 AD, was the period when this colony thrived. And then once the weather turned colder in 1400, this colony became non-viable and gradually died out, and the last members will undoubtedly have starved to death due to lack of food. Turning back to Iceland, this current volcano in April 2010 has been very similar in many respects to the one that happened in the Eyjafjallajökull in 1783. The eruption began in June and lasted until February 1784. Now, at the time, the population of Iceland was about 50 to 55,000 people, and it was sustained by agriculture and fishing. And the emissions from this volcano poisoned the land and killed many of the crops. And as a result, at least 3/4 of the farm animals on Iceland died. And as a result of the lack of grain for making bread and a lack of meat products to eat, the population of Iceland declined by between 15 and 20,000, deaths being due to starvation. The problem got so acute that the Danish government actually considered evacuating Iceland at one point. So we can ask the question, are there any lessons that we can learn from it today? Well, it's a case of an experiment that's already been done, and it's written up in the history books. If you examine what happened, you can get quite a lot of answers to questions that people are asking today. Now, what actually happened in Iceland was that in those 7 or 8 months in 1783-84, the smoke and industrial effluent from the whole of planet Earth in 2010 was dumped on Iceland in that period of 8 months, 200 odd years ago. That's what happened, and with the catastrophic consequences that we saw. That's a lesson that can be learned, and so these communities that actually live on the edge of what is viable have valuable lessons to teach us in terms of future sustainability of the rest of the planet, in terms of effects of pollution, in terms of natural resources, and so on. The Icelanders had to grapple with a desperately serious problem. The results of the volcano were also interesting. They drifted, as they've done this last week, across Scandinavia, and then some of them went south over Germany, and then across France, and then they crossed the Channel, and they moved up the east coast of England. And another interesting statistic, somebody aware of this particular date analysed deaths among agricultural workers in the east of England and found that in that year, 1783-84, there was a sudden spike in deaths of agricultural workers, which is normally a very healthy outdoor occupation, and this was just down to the inhalation of these toxic products and particulates from this volcano. So again, there's a lot of lessons to be learned.
So while we're worried about not being able to get from our destinations around the world because of air flights being cut, there could be, if this continues, eruptions continue, some much more, much greater issues to consider.
Yes, yes. Most people go about their daily lives completely unaware of where everything comes from, and that includes things like food products, and they assume that they can jump on a plane and just go where they want, and without any cost. But what this thing does is to remind us is that in fact there is a price to everything, and we are part of a system of natural forces against which we are in many cases powerless.
Well, thanks for that, John. I'm sure this is something that people are going to find very interesting, and we'll see how things progress. Hopefully it doesn't erupt in the too near future, but this is another experiment that we can keep our eyes on.
Yeah.
Thank you.